Hey K-popers, and welcome back to Hallyu. I hope you're ready to have your mind blown because today we're going to be peeling back the layers of SHINee's 1000 Years Always By Your Side to uncover a K-pop masterpiece. We'll start by briefly talking about the release in general and then dive into the story, starting with a cursory look at the events that play out. Then we'll revisit those events given the big reveal near the end of the MV, and finally see how the MV's truest meaning draws on beliefs about death in Japanese culture. Before we get started, I want to quickly thank Hallyu's honorary producers. If you want to show off your bias group in every video, have your say in future content in the channel, and join the official Hallyu Discord server, come support Hallyu on Patreon and join our wonderful community. So grab some tissues if you think you'll need them, and let's jump into this outstanding release from the SM boy group SHINee. So first, some quick info for you guys about this release. 1000 Years Always By Your Side is SHINee's 6th Japanese single, and it came out on December 12th, 2012. It charted very well in Japan, hitting number 2 on the daily Oricon chart and number 3 on its weekly chart when it was released. And as we're about to discover, there was a good reason for its success. This MV has so many layers of meaning, and so we're going to go through the MV a few times, starting with the basic story and building to more and more of what this song is truly about. I'm sure that by the end of this video, you'll be convinced like I am that this SHINee release is a masterpiece. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at what happens in the story portrayed here. We start out at a bus stop where SHINee are waiting along with several other people for a bus to arrive. We're then transported to a hospital room where we see a young boy hooked up to an IV and in low spirits. While looking outside, the boy sees 5 black cats, which we'll get to later. We discover why everyone is so dejected in the next scene as the doctor tells his parents he has a life-threatening illness in front of some x-rays. The father then tries to cheer the boy up, putting on a clown nose and acting silly, pretending to blow up a huge balloon in the hopes that it will cheer up his dying son. We then see the son being brought into surgery, presumably in a last-ditch attempt to save his life. When the boy returns back to his room, we see SHINee encroaching on the door to the room, causing the father to be concerned and run past them. The father retrieves a suitcase and opens it, releasing hundreds of balloons. This finally gets through to the boy, delighting him and making him smile at last. The SHINee members are also surprised and delighted at the sight of the balloons, and we see them filling the hospital ward as well. The story cuts back to the bus stop now, where the father arrives and greets the SHINee members. We then see newspaper clippings in their book that the father has actually perished in a fire at the circus where he worked, explaining the father's affinity for balloons as well. The bus driver bids farewell to SHINee as the members summon orbs of light, and the bus departs off into the sunset. As the story draws to a close, the boy fist bumps out to the sky from his hospital bed while holding a teddy bear with that same clown nose, and the father does the same back to his boy from the bus. And finally, the SHINee members join in the gesture as they see the bus take off into the sky. So now that we've got a sense for everything that happens in the MV, let's start putting the pieces back together in this incredibly well told story. As we discover near the end of the MV, the father is already dead from the beginning of the video. Though we see flashbacks to memories of the family all together and happy at various points in the video, in the present the father has already died. And if you pay close attention, you can see this in every scene the father is in. When the doctor's discussing the boy's diagnosis, you can see the doctor's actually talking directly to the mother, and the father is in the background absorbing the news at the same time. When the father starts trying to cheer the boy up, the mom isn't there, suggesting he waited for the boy to be alone. And when the boy's being carted through the halls to the operating room, the mom's following behind them while the father is just standing at the side of the hallway. So while the dad has passed on, he is remaining on Earth to make sure that his son will be okay. Even in death, he can't abandon his son like this. When he releases the flurry of balloons and is finally able to get through to his son, his mission is accomplished. He's given his son the strength to continue on fighting his battle. We also see in flashbacks that fist bumping is one of the family's traditions, perhaps their way of saying I love you without uttering a word. And after the balloons rise, the son fist bumps towards the sky, recognizing that those balloons are from his late father. In fact, looking carefully at the flashbacks, you can see that blowing up balloons and playing with them was one of the son's favorite things to do with his dad. The dad then returns the favor, and we even see the SHINee members doing so in approval of the dad's heartfelt last actions for his family. Alright, so now that we've got a good grasp on how the timelines played out and some of the meaning behind the fist bump, the teddy bear, the clown nose, etc., we're really going to blow the lid off this story. Because believe it or not, we've only just scratched the surface so far. This last layer of meaning is unbelievable and is glaringly obvious in the MV once you know what you're looking for. So to understand everything being portrayed, we first need to understand some of the traditional views on death in Japanese culture. Remember, this is a Japanese release after all. In Japanese culture, there are gods of death called Shinigamis. Now, in most interpretations, these aren't necessarily evil spirits. Their main purpose is to make the process of the dead passing on to the other side as smooth as possible. Mortals can only see Shinigamis in forms that they possess, whereas the dead can see them in their true form. So back to the MV. The big missing piece here in this story is that SHINee are the Shinigamis. In fact, one of the first lyrics in this song is, "The things that can't be seen still have a form." They're in charge of getting everyone to the afterlife safely and on time. Jonghyun frequently checks a pocket watch, indicating he's the one in charge of adhering to the schedule. Similarly, we also see Wonwoo in charge of the book, indicating that he's maintaining the list of the dead people who are ready to move on. So now let's go through this story once again and see just how much extra meaning there is, because it is a lot. Right from the very start, we see the bus stop. This bus stop has a sign, and what are the only words not scratched out? Other side. The bus is the way the dead are moving on to the afterlife. This is confirmed by the people waiting. They're all older people who have reached the end of their time on Earth. You can also see at the start that SHINee are counting the dead waiting for the bus and realize the father is missing. They check the book and see his picture as one of the people who should be boarding. This kicks off the true story of the MV. The father has died in a circus fire but is now met with the tragic reality that his son is also battling for his life after a life-threatening medical diagnosis. So throughout the entire story, the father is racing against time as he tries to help his son before the Shinigami force him to depart for the afterlife. At the beginning, when we first see the boy in his bed looking out at the 5 black cats, these are SHINee, the Shinigami in their form as seen by the mortals. They're looking for his dad after realizing he's not at the bus stop to leave the mortal realm. And we again see these cats waiting and looking on, indicating that they're giving the father a bit more time. However, they cannot stall forever, and so when SHINee appear outside the boy's hospital room, the father is frantic because he knows he can't leave yet. He hasn't got through to his son. After releasing the balloons and fulfilling his final wish as a mortal, we see the father finally arrive at the bus stop, greeting the driver with a satisfied smile. With everyone aboard the bus, the driver says goodbye to the Shinigami and they begin the process of transferring the dead to the afterlife. SHINee sends off the bus into the sunset as it takes off into the sky with the father. The fist bumps from the father, his son, and SHINee all confirm that he's leaving this world at peace, having done all that he can for those still on Earth. So needless to say, 1000 Years Always by Your Side has one of the most beautiful, heartbreaking, transcendental stories of any K-pop release, and I have no problem calling it a masterpiece in the halls of K-pop fame. And one final point I wanted to mention too. When's the last time that you saw an MV where the entire group was a key character in an even bigger story? Sure, K-pop MVs that are one continuous story aren't that uncommon, but a story where the entire group is involved in one long story and are not the main character? That is certainly very rare, and SHINee do such an incredible job of blending into this unbelievable story that's sure to leave a mark on anyone who watches it. Alright guys, how crushed are you after discovering the true meaning of this Japanese release from SHINee? I know there were definitely tears for me when I first understood its full meaning. Let me know what you think of this song and the MV now down in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching this deep dive, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on all the great K-pop content coming your way every single week right here at Hallyu. This has been deep dive number 48, 1000 Years Always by Your Side. Hey.